All right, and hi everybody. Welcome. It's nice to sort of see all of you. I'm Beth Holland from EdTech Teacher, and thanks for joining us tonight to talk about creating and collaborating with eBooks. I'm super excited about the group that I have here tonight, and in a second I'm going to let all of them introduce themselves. They're very modest, so I'm going to give them a little bit of an introduction as well, and then I'll let them go in the same order. But as an instructor at EdTech Teacher, one of the things that we do really regularly working with different schools and districts is using eBooks to create new artifacts of learning, to have a platform for collaboration. And for so many months, I've turned to this group looking for ideas, looking for suggestions, and so I'm thrilled to know that they are all here. So I'm joined this evening by Dan Amos, who is the creator of the BookCreator app that we use a ton on iPads and also on Android tablets. Elizabeth Glassman, who teaches science in Norfolk, Virginia, and I've referred to her projects more times than I can count. And Nick, I'm going to be honest here. I'm going to let you introduce your last name because I'm pretty sure I haven't pronounced it correctly in forever. But Nick's done some amazing things with his elementary students, and Sabba Quidwai out in California. Thanks for joining us this way. Sabba works with us at EdTech Teacher and is a great instructor. So I'm thrilled that all of them are here. And before we go too far, I want to turn the mic over to all of them, and we'll go in order. And please, say hello, introduce yourselves, and we'll go from there. So Dan, I'm going to let you take it away.
Okay, hi everyone. It's great to be here, and thank you, Beth, for inviting me. Looking forward to telling you all about BookCreator and what we're up to in a minute.
Great, thank you. Elizabeth, you there?
I'm here, yes. I'm Elizabeth Glassman, and as Beth said, I'm in Norfolk, Virginia at Norfolk Academy. Hello, Bulldogs. This is my third year of using shared iPads in my biology classroom, and what I'll be talking about tonight is a semester project that we do where the kids all contribute their own pages to a class-wide book that they then use as their answer key to the exam review for our exams that are coming up in a couple of weeks.
Wow, no pressure then.
No.
All right, Nick.
Hi everybody, my name is Nik Chatzopoulos. You can call me Nick, that's fine. I teach 4th grade math and science at Plato Academy in Clearwater, Florida. And just a couple of things so you will know where I come from. In our school we have a one-to-one iPad program, so this is my second year of using this, having this setting in my classroom.
Great, thanks, Nick. And Sabba, last but not least.
Hi everyone, I'm Sabba, and after teaching social science for about 10 years at the high school level and launching our one-to-one iPad program there, I just switched over to higher ed. So University of Southern California, where I'm working with students and faculty to kind of make learning a little bit more innovative, a little bit more fun, and eBooks and iBooks are a big part of what we're doing here today, so excited to share.
Great, thanks, Sabba. So I am excited as well. We can span, from kindergarten all the way through today. So I know there's a group of you who are watching right now and are participating in the chat wing. And if you can, please take a moment in the chat to introduce yourself, say hello, let us know where you are. But know as well is that as much as the 5 of us are really going to enjoy talking to each other, we want to hear from you. So at any point, if you have questions, comments, ideas, please share them in the chat. We will relay questions and do our best to answer them. But without further ado, I'm going to let Dan kick us off, and he's going to start showing us a lot about what's possible with working with eBooks and go from there. So Dan, I'm just going to turn this over to you.
Okay. So maybe if I do a quick intro about BookCreator for anyone that's not used it yet. So BookCreator is kind of aimed at K-12, I guess, and it's a very simple app for the iPad to make ebooks. And once you've got the ebooks, you can then publish them in a few different ways. And maybe better than waffle on about it, maybe if I show it. So we'll see if we can get this working with a screen share. One second. There will always be technical hiccups. Okay, let's see if this is going to do it. Can you all see the iPad?
Mm-hmm.
Great. So this is BookCreator. with some books in here created by students. And what we could do very quickly is create a new book. So when you create a new book, you get a choice of portrait, square, and landscape blank pages. So let's go with landscape. And we've tried to keep the app really simple. So if we look at the top toolbar, and particularly the right-hand side, we've just got 3 buttons. So it's as simple as we could possibly make it. So let's very quickly make a book about a sports day. So let's imagine we've got some student reporters who are out on the school field with the iPads, recording what's going on and commenting on it. So we have a choice of things you can have to a book. You can have photos. You can use the camera to take stills or to record video. There's a pen tool for annotating and writing and drawing. You can add text, of course, and you can record some sound. So if we go ahead and add some photos. So our student reporters in the field have just snapped this picture, and they're now going to add a bit of detail to it. So we'll use the pen tool, and maybe we'll say this guy's out in front at the moment. This one needs to come forward. And we could also add some text. But this is a bit hard to see, so if we click on the eye here, which is the inspector, we get the kind of standard text properties you'd imagine. So we could change the color. We could change the size. And we could change the font. And there's our first page about Sports Day. If I just very quickly make another page. We could also add some sound, so you can narrate directly into the book or import from iTunes should you want to. The narration is a great feature, so you can use this in so many ways. We see this being used in foreign language learning. We see it being used by grade 1. There's just so many ways once you get that kind of narration and reflection of what you're doing in. So once you've created the book, you can tap on the export, and you can export straight to iBooks. And this creates an ebook on the fly. And here it is in iBooks. And so there's the book. So if we have a quick look at some other books maybe that people have created recently, and particularly around collaboration. A great one came out just last week, I think, which is called The World is My Audience. And this was put together by a guy called John Smith in Ohio. And he put a call out on Twitter for teachers anywhere around the world to encourage their students to write poetry and then bring it all together into a single book. And this book's just been published to the iBook store, and it has some great student poetry. So this one's from Australia. And you just see such lovely variety in the design. The students really, they decided how they wanted to present their work best. Where are we here? Quebec. All sorts of different stuff in here. And I think what's great about this particular project is, the title says it all, the world is my audience. So, we all know students write best when they're writing for an audience. And, if we're making ebooks, the audience could be sharing it with their peers in the classroom, it could be taking it home and sharing it with their parents. Or here, it's sharing it with a global audience. What a great way to amplify what they're doing. And I think in this book, there's one poem pretty much from each school. You can imagine how much poetry was written and how much incentive there was for great work to come out of this project. Another great example is a global iBook. So this was a book put together by Meg Wilson at the Avenue School in New York. And again, she put a call out on Twitter for schools around the world to talk about where they live. I'm not sure I can get audio working over this technical setup, but there's some lovely audio in here of the kids talking about their schools. Some great video. I don't think the audio will come by, but this guy's very excited about Ohio, spelling it out for us. And that is, in a nutshell, BookCreator at the moment and the kind of stuff you can do with it. But what we've tried to do is make this a very simple app, but there is, some more power under the hood. So one of the features is combining books, like we just saw, where you can, if I just turn off screen sharing a sec so I come back. Can you see me now?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So you can combine books. You can bring books from multiple iPads into one, and you can create a collaborative book. So as we saw, this could be within a class. This could be across grade levels. This could be across schools, and across countries. And I think that's a really nice feature that we're very proud of. And seeing those books like "The World Is My Audience," is a thrill. Where we are right now, I think we're coming very close to 10 million books made in schools with BookCreator, which is just, blows my mind every time I think about it. I can't really comprehend it. That's just been fantastic. And Beth, I know you wanted some insights into where we're going with it and what's next.
Yeah, but before you go there, do you mind backing up for half a second? There was a question from Lisa in the chat, and you talked about combining books. But could you just slow down for half a second and talk about the collaboration features and how you're able to, have people share them to you and then you could combine them?
Sure.
So you want to know what's next.
Okay. So for example, each student's working on their own iPad, and they create a page of a book, let's say, or a couple of pages, and then you can share them. So you need to put them onto one iPad, essentially, into one BookCreator. So a simple way to do that. I mean, it depends on your setup at school, but you could use Google Drive. You could use Classroom if you want to. You could use Shobi. There's lots of different ways. You could just email or AirDrop between the iPads. Once you've got all the books on one iPad, there's then on BookCreator there's a plus button. Click that, choose Combine Books, and then you can just bring all the books together, and you have one final kind of artifact. So I hope that answers that.
No, I mean, I will say I think that's one of the things that does really set it apart is the fact that you can have all of the students create something and bring it together. And I know Elizabeth and Nick are going to talk about that idea even more. But I know that's one of the reasons why we started teaching that a lot. And one last thing, Dan, if you don't mind as well, talking a little bit about is the exporting features, because I know I was personally jumping for joy back in July when you released the export as video feature. And so I think that was another thing that's so wonderful about how it can be a creation tool for ebooks, but also how you can change what you mean by an ebook.
Yeah, so right now we have free export features. So you can export as an EPUB, the standardized EPUB files, and read them in iBooks. You can export as a PDF if you want to print the books out and staple them together. Or you can export as a video and post directly to YouTube from within the app or Vimeo. And really the reason we introduced that was we were hearing more and more teachers saying, how do we embed it on our blog? How do we get it so that we can share it with parents at home that might not necessarily have iPads or iPhones? So that's a way of doing that. And it's it's a pretty quick process to do. A couple of clicks and you're posted onto YouTube. It could go to a private channel if you don't want it to be public. And then you can embed it on your blog and share it with anyone. But talking about the future, I don't think we've quite finished with sharing. I think there's more we can do here. So one of the things we're excited to start work on the new year is the idea of a cloud reader. So you'll be able to publish it out to a website and have it as a page turning, and you can then embed that in your blog. So rather than having the video that auto plays, you'll be able to click through it at your own pace, click on the audio to play, exactly as if you were in iBooks, but you'll be able to do it on the web.
Oh, very cool.
Other stuff we're looking at right now, we're building a version for Windows, and as soon as we finish that, we'll be looking at Google Chrome. So we're very excited about those two platforms. And the other thing we're working on is how to make the books more beautiful, I think. So what we love about BookCreator is you get a blank page, and you can put whatever you like on it. What we're seeing now as kind of schools maybe come into the second year of doing BookCreator is how do we make our books look more attractive? It's great, we've got all the content, we're really happy with the students' work. And now the students are saying, well, I want to, the colors are a bit off and the fonts, and so we're trying to think about ways we can introduce some kind of scaffolding so that you have slightly more beautiful books, but without taking away the kind of blank page and the creativity. So we're trying to strike a fine balance there. And that's all stuff we're planning, for the first half of next year.
That's a lot. That's exciting news, though.
Great, thank you.
I see Elizabeth and Nick smiling like crazy, so I think this is good news all the way.
Yes.
All the way around.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Great, thanks. Well, speaking of which, I know we're gonna turn this over. One of the things that's always great as well. We're always creating things, and Dan, I really appreciate the way that you've got. I will put the link actually in the chat as well. For those of you who have not read the BookCreator blog, there are fabulous examples that are always coming out, and Dan, you do such a great job of publishing those, not just saying, okay, here's the finished product, but here's the process that these teachers went through in order to get to that point. But I'm thrilled to now be quiet and let Nick and Elizabeth talk through a little bit of their project and some of the process that they're doing with the idea of really getting the students creating with everything. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Nick, and I know Nick did an amazing solar system project. So, Nick, if you want to take it away.
Yes, thank you, Beth. All right, so the initial goal of our project was to unleash students' creativity. I thought to myself, what can I do to allow my students to tell their own story in the best possible way? And of course, digital technology, at least in my opinion, is the best way. So we had a conversation in the classroom with the students. My students were already familiar with app smashing. I take it that everybody here knows what app smashing is, right?
Yeah. If you can go ahead and define it a little, Nick, I think that would probably be great too.
I'm sorry, say that again?
If you could define it, maybe just give a little definition of what you mean and go from there.
Sure, yes. App smashing, I think the person who coined the phrase is a guy named Greg Quidwai. Is that correct?
Yeah, you got it perfect.
Excellent. And I think app smashing is basically the idea is every app, there are some apps that are really exciting and really amazing, but every app is limited into what it can do. So the idea is creating a final project or a final product that it's been refined through different steps, and each step it's been went through a different app. So basically is having apps working in conjunction with each other in order to create a final product that one app is not able to produce. So the students were familiar with this because we worked a little bit on that. So, but we were talking in the classroom, and well, we said, what do we do with the final result? Okay, everybody at the end is going to produce a video or a picture or a thinking or what have you. And the students were familiar. They've seen a couple of iBooks that I made for instructional purposes, and they wanted to build an iBook actually. So sorry, Dan, we didn't use this time. We didn't use your app. We used actually iBooks author. So the idea was that was a project that actually was emerged through the conversations with the students. It was very like organically emerged. So the project was basically a four-step project. The students first had to do the research part, and the research component included that, okay, we're going to be talking about our solar system. The students chose a planet or a star, our sun, and they had to use either they had to use multiple resources. They had to use the textbooks. They had to use other books, the internet, of course. And I was really excited and amazed actually to see that the students were willing to go to libraries, check out books, which added another layer in the whole project. So after we put together our information, that was the writing. The second component was the writing component, and that was the component where the students were a little bit not very excited about, but I persuaded them that this is something that we have to do. So the students used the notes, since we have iPads in our classroom, and they created, they revised, and they edited their posts. And then after that, we have the video component. This was the part where they used the different apps and they created their basically their app smashing activities. And then finally, the last part was the iBook component, where I actually sat down and I showed them at least what I do in order to create an iBook. And then the students collaborated with each other, and we had a group of students that was taking over, for instance, the introduction of the iBook, where they wanted to create a video, an introductory video to the book, using a couple of apps. Then other students were responsible into taking all the text and putting it in order. Other students were responsible to put all the other widgets and all the different components of the book. And finally, when we finished, it actually took a long time. It took 1 month to finish this, believe it or not. And I have to tell you, the students enjoyed every single second of it. And I got so many emails, even from parents, that they were complaining, quote unquote, because their child was too preoccupied with the iBook, so they weren't doing anything else. Basically, that was their life for about a month. But anyway, after a while, we had I think a pretty impressive product, and we decided to share this with the world. And then the EdTech Teachers contest came up, and we applied there, and the rest is history.
Yeah, no, we were thrilled to have you, and we did, and I'll put the link as well in the chat box. But we did our first sort of AppSmash Awards at the iPad Summit back in Boston, and Nick definitely won that one fairly hands down for like his collaboration project. So it was pretty amazing to see what his kids were able to create.
If I may, one last thing, my students enjoyed this so much that they every time we do a different subject, either in math or science, they keep referring back to that, and they want to do something similar. And since they don't have access to iBook Creator because they only have iPads, now we took it to, of course, BookCreator, right? I'm sorry, they don't have access to iBooks Author. So now the students, and I don't know if you guys are able to see that on that slide under other projects. I have a couple of examples of my students creating. Someone created something on the black holes. That's right, yes. And another student created something on Egypt. There are several books that we have right now in the making in my classroom. But these were the only ones that I was able to, to share here with you, because we don't have enough space, right?
Great. Well, these sound really exciting, Nick. I'm sure you'll share as you get going and as the students start to finish those up. Mm-hmm. So great. Thank you so much. And I think, Nick, it's awesome too to be able to hear the fact that you were able to do this with elementary students, because it can seem like it's such a complex project, and while they did a lot of work and they did great things, I think it's great that they were able to really drive it. So what I'll do now is turn this over to Elizabeth, because it may have started with Snowmageddon, I know, last year, but what you were able to do with getting your students collaborating on such a huge scale using this one tool and at a completely different level. I'll be quiet and hand it over to you.
Oh, you're sweet. Well, first, I need to thank Dan for being the genius behind this app. My students just love it. Last year was my first year doing this project, where, as you can see, it's a midterm project taking everything that we covered for the first semester into one location for kids to reference and look at each other's work. And it was really a learning experience for me, and this is now my second time through with it this year, with making some tweaks and changes, but overall it's very intuitive, the app is, and I can't stress enough that I love the fact that Nick, your 4th graders are using it, and I have 9th graders, and my kids that even were in class with me last year, they've come back this year and said, can I use your iPads to use that in the upper school grades? So it really applies to everybody. But as far as our project is concerned that I'm doing right now, actually this week with my kids, what I did is divide up all of the content of the semester, which in biology can be quite cumbersome to look at all of the different ideas and concepts and just everything that's out there. So last year, what I did was put the kids into teams, and I came up, because I have 20 iPads in my room, I came up with 20 questions so that there wasn't any overlap, so that any time during the day, study hall or any free time or in class, the groups could work on their project. I tweaked it a little bit this year, and instead I gave everybody 68 questions because I have 68 students, and every student is responsible for being the teacher of one question or the facilitator of one question. And so what they've been doing Friday, yesterday, and now today is generating their own pages that they then shared with me. And then after I get everybody's in, I'll put them into one final book, like Dan was talking about earlier, and then I will share that with my students hopefully by Thursday of this week so that they have a full week with that book to just go through at their own pace of checking their answers and being able to access things. So the example that's on the screen, the pictures there, those are just some of the pages that my kids did last year. And one of the takeaways that I had from the EdTech conference last year in Boston was that you need to make sure that regardless of what your kids have at home, they can access that material. So one of the things that I took away from that conference was making sure that I provide the information to the kids as an EPUB link so that they can put it into their own device. But because we are a shared program, I also make sure that I share it as a PDF so that parents can access it and kids can access it if they do not have a way to get at it as an EPUB. So that's something that was really important, especially after the first time through. In-class time is essential. Our kids are really busy with academics and with extracurriculars, and everybody's wrapping up the semester for them. So making sure that I had enough in-class time for the kids was also extremely important. And in fact, what's really fun that I'm so proud of with my kids is that they realize that this is being published. And to them, that sounds so huge that people all over the world essentially can see what they're doing just by providing that link to the EPUB or to the PDF, and they take so much more ownership of it. It's not just notes in their book or something that they'll keep in a binder, but it's out there. And I really enjoy that aspect and seeing them get excited. So after they answer their question or put together their content, I have them do it on paper and pencil first, and we sit and brainstorm, and they share their answers with me just to make sure that we can tweak and refine. And then they go into the BookCreator app, and there is where I have on the page there where it says Biology Midterm Project, I've hyperlinked my actual project requirements and what I give the kids right there on that page, so you can help yourselves to that. But what I have them do is then after they sort of get approved, then they go into the BookCreator app and making sure that we set all our books to the same format, and then they do their work, and they submit it to me for review with looking over their iPad, and then I have them do a peer review to see if that was a sufficient enough information to answer that question for each other. And then once everything is good and they have a title, which, by the way, I love the fact that when you title the project in BookCreator and upload it to Drive, it holds that title name. They don't have to go back through and rename again. I love that it's seamless in that sense. So I make sure that they follow a set sort of recipe with how to save their work. They have to do the question number and the title of the question and then just their first name, and they submit it to me, and it goes into my Drive, and then from there, since everything's already numbered, I can just put those right back into the book in numerical order, and then make one nice little package for them to review from for their exam. I hope that made sense.
No, it did. And just because I know sometimes there's always that question, like, how long does this take from the teacher end? I mean, how long, roughly does it take you to then compile everything? Like, once they've done all the work and shared it to you? I mean,
that part can take a while. What I've learned to do is, as they are getting them to me, I'm putting them already into BookCreator as individual chapters and then bringing them into the one book. So I'm working at it as I go along. But honestly, if I were to sit and just put them in order by having the kids title them in numerical order, it takes so much time out of the picture. I can probably put the 50 submissions that I already have today in there like within an hour, which really isn't too bad at all, as long as they have the right format. That's the trick.
And that's actually a fantastic tip to get them to be able to do that. There is so this was from in the chat. There was a question about, are there directions about how to publish online and where can they find this? And I know I put a link earlier to some help slides that we have. And then Dan, I believe you've got you have a set of tutorial, as well from the BookCreator blog. So I'll try to grab that, or if you don't mind even dropping that in the chat as well, and we can make sure that everyone's got plenty of resources for how they can get started with all of this.
Sure, I'll post that right now.
That would be great. So we'll be able to put some things there. And Elizabeth, again, the tip about numbering, that I'm gonna have to remember that one.
I cannot tell you how much time it saves with things like that. And the other point I wanted to make is that I also tell the kids that part of their assessment, because they always, there's always that looming grade in there, is showing me their competency with the iPad. That if they put the proper title on there, they actually get points for that. Just to remind them that these little steps actually make a big difference. And I let them choose whatever apps they want to use to get their work there. Many have used Explain Everything, and often now we do a lot with ThingLink as well. But to kind of lead up to this, every Friday in class I have what's called Happy Appy Friday, and I introduced an app of the week and give them like a class challenge of something they need to get done by the end of the bell using a particular app or a couple of apps. To put that together, and they would have to submit everything to me through Drive, because this is our first year of really using Drive as a school, so I wanted to make sure that they were getting their literacy with having a biology folder. And what's really nice is now they can pull some of those projects out of that folder and put them right into this book, so it just sort of brings it all together, which has been nice.
Awesome. Thanks. Definitely lots of great things going. So Sabba, I'm going to turn this over to you, because I know we've done a fair bit with science now, and I know you've done some amazing things across a number of different topics.
Yeah, so I'm going to share, first of all, probably one of my most favorite projects, which is something that I did when I used to teach history. And I'm going to start off with a little definition of what a DBQ is. A DBQ is a document-based question, and they are most commonly found on the advanced placement exam for social science courses. And because they're usually found on the AP exam, a lot of times the focus of using these in the classroom is geared more towards AP level students. And so one of the things that I think a lot of history teachers are really passionate about is integrating writing into the curriculum. Having students being able to analyze sources and really sort of do history instead of just having history dictated to them is really important. And so DBQs are really a great way to sort of set up this activity. So engaging students in this process, though, can often be really challenging. A lot of times just because the documents are often black and white, they don't get to really engage with them, and it's just sort of, not as interesting when presented on paper as it's been when we sort of transitioned over to iBooks. So what you see on the screen there is what this activity used to look like pre-iPads. And you can see we've got it's a worksheet back and front. It's got 5 sources on it. And the second thing that you see on the screen is the 6 C's, which is the document that they use to analyze the source. But once we got iPads in the classroom, if you go over to the next slide, you can see that this entire process is completely going to change. And I wasn't able to put, I don't want to play the videos in the webinar, but what I've done is if you click the play icon next to each element, you'll be able to see this process broken down step by step. And so these are sort of the steps that we used to use. So I used to put together, basically just take that worksheet. So I know a lot of times we talk about, how much work does this take on the teacher end. It really was very little because it was taking those images on the paper and putting them into the iBook. So now they can zoom in, the images are in color, and what was also really nice are the little extra features you can add. So as students are sitting in their groups and they're analyzing these sources, a lot of times they would struggle. You'll notice on the in one of the boxes, it was to make connections to something that you already know. So here's this topic that you're learning about, here's this source, how can you relate it not just in the moment to what you're learning about, but to something that we learned about before as well. So being able to have keynote slides right there for them to browse through. A lot of times I would get, just questions that I knew they were going to ask me about the document. And so I could add in little pop-up questions. So instead of having to wait for them to ask the questions, I can add in these little questions right into the book that as they're discussing, they can tap on and sort of just, have that guide their conversation. So using the ebooks really sort of just redefined the entire process. And because they were engaging more with the document, the critical thinking went up, which in turn led the conversation to really become much richer, which then in turn led the essays to be that much more thoughtful, and you could just really tell that there was a lot more deeper critical thinking going on. So I do have a link to the iBook so that you can kind of learn more about the process. There's some tutorials in there, a sample DBQ as well. So feel free to check that out. It's on the iTunes Store. If you click the image, you can take a look at that.
Sorry, I got distracted, so I was grabbing the link for everybody. Okay,
Yeah,
there's your
totally fine. And so, I'm going to switch gears here a little bit and talk a little bit about what we're doing here at USC. And I'm really lucky here to be working with such an innovative team led by, this incredible director who has such a great vision for what higher education should look like, especially in the medical field. And so one of the things we've really been working on is creating sort of like a series of iBooks. Resources that are kind of curated for the students to use, which sort of in turn allow instructors to flip learning. So that's kind of the goal with where we're going with this. And the first time round, what we did was me and some of the instructors, we created the iBook. So the students were really sort of just utilizing it as a tool to learn from. The second time round, and we actually just finished this today with them, was we had the students put together the iBook. And I felt like this was really significant. This whole concept of just like peer-to-peer education, allowing them to collaborate and create instead of, again, just having content dictated to them. You could just see the difference in just like their energy, their engagement, and it's really been an exciting experience. They have their exam on Friday, so we'll see how this reflects in terms of scores. But you can see up over here on the slide just like a couple highlights of some of the things that we did. They're looking at infectious diseases in this one, and so they created thing links. So one of the things, the goal is they have like hundreds of these diseases that they need to learn. And so by quickly looking at these visual aids, which are also tagged using ThingLink and then embedded in the iBook, they sort of get to review content really quickly. Another thing that they really enjoy that we've been able to do a lot more of now that we're using these iBooks are patient cases. We can constantly have them create them, and we can create them obviously, on our end as well. And just, again, just more refined review for things that, that are going to be coming up as they sort of move into their clerkships. And then if we scroll over to the next page, this particular one that you're looking at is a review book. So we have these interactive Keynote games. So Keynote, can be used for so much more than just like, a lecture or presentation. You can't do it in here right now, but if you go through the game, if you click on the answer and you get it incorrect, it tells you it's incorrect, takes you back to the question. Once you get it right, then it moves you along. So just little features like that sort of just change the experience of interacting with information, and that's sort of really been our goal with what we're trying to create here. And on the next one, this one is one that I used back when I was at Fairmont. Oh no, next one. Oh yeah, sorry.
Wait,
yeah, the next slide.
Did I miss one?
No, just go one more.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
There we go. So we also used iBooks, eBooks to flip professional development. And this was absolutely, like, this was just a game changer for us because when we first launched iPads at Fairmont, the first time round, it was we could have the same session, everyone was sort of on the same page, but as we started moving through like month 3, 4, 5, everybody was like all over the place. We had people that had just gone on it on their own and they were just really a little bit more advanced. We had people that were still beginners, and so we needed to find a way to be able to support them. And so we sort of did this, it was like gamification and like flip learning kind of all in one. And so again, you know, just really simple features like being able to have a step-by-step tutorial that they could look through and kind of learn the app on their own. And then there were these what we called obstacle courses, and they were just sort of like step-by-step tutorials. And if you go to the next slide, you'll see sort of what it looks like for them. And again, this is all within the iBook. So they could just tap on the I in that direction from start to finish and go through it. So what was great about this was when they came to the session, it was all hands-on. There was no instruction other than what was going on one-to-one, and so it really freed up time for them to collaborate with each other, to really sort of use that time to create lessons and activities that they could actually then take back to the classroom versus having to learn in the session and then having to go home where, you know, usually it didn't get done. And, you know, we just found like a much more robust use of the iPads in the classroom once we kind of switched over to this model. So just so many different ways, and I think, you know, we're still learning. The last one I wanted to share was actually a project that, oh, you guys next one, yeah. One more.
Oops. Did I go the wrong way?
Did I get there?
This one?
No. Oh, maybe it's not there. I don't know why.
I don't know. Well, here, I'll stop and you can just talk.
Okay, yeah, no worries. Yeah, so on Twitter, I'll put it in the chat, it's Jabal Pepper, and he's, basically what he's done is, it's a great idea. He's taken all the English texts that he used to teach in high school, and he has made them all interactive with iBooks, and what he's looking for now is for other teachers to collaborate with. So say you're a history teacher and you've made history books, or you're an English teacher and you've got these English books, you're a math teacher and you've created all these math books. How can schools sort of now come to get together, maybe share these resources so that you don't have teachers that are trying to, you know, sort of create everything from scratch. So I'm actually going to share his thing in the chat window so that you guys can check it out. It's a pretty cool project he's got going. And that's it for me.
But no, those are awesome ideas. So you know, we've got plenty of time here still. A few other thoughts. I don't know, Nick or Elizabeth or Dan, if there's other ideas that you'd like to share and want to jump in. If not, you know, other things that may be coming of it. I know there's a few I could, you know, otherwise share. It sounds like we've got a great group that's been here in the chat. So also, you know, folks that are in the chat, there's been some really good questions about collaboration and using Google Drive and tying to Google Classroom. But, you know, if you have other questions, please go ahead and type them in, and we'll make sure that we address them. But first, I want to turn this over to anyone else. Nick or
May I jump in?
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to piggyback on what Sabba was talking about, the flipped classroom. We try to encourage teachers in my school to use the flipped classroom. And you know, sometimes when you have conversations with your students, even at this level, sometimes they surprise you. My students, some of my students want to get into this model and do the flipped classroom. And the way to do this was, of course, by building eBooks. Now, since they don't have access to the iBooks author, they do have access though to the BookCreator via their iPad. So we are in this is the initial project, so the initial steps of the project. So I can't really tell where this is going to go to, but I have several students in my classroom who, at this moment, they are creating their own eBooks with videos, and basically, you know, it's mainly math. And what they do is mainly they explain, they choose a math concept, and they will make a video on this concept, explaining the concept and showing some examples, and maybe do a couple of pages of questions for the other students. I guess the final product of this would be a set of small books, student-created books that would elaborate on certain math concepts. Again, this is something that it's at the very beginning. I don't know what it's going to look like at the end, but I'm really excited about this, and I wanted to point this out, and I wanted to thank Dan about for coming up with such an amazing app.
Thanks, Nick. And actually, I'm grabbing the link right now because you mentioned using it with video and with math in particular. And I'll put this in the chat box. But Dan Bowden, who's another teacher, used a combination of BookCreator and Explain Everything. Since Dan showed us about pulling pictures in. But one of the awesome things about BookCreator, or if you were doing this, with iBooks Author, is that you can pull video in. So one of the things that Dan did was have his students create these interactive math journals where not only was it showing, okay, here's my drawing, here's my problem solving, but it could bring in the video showing the thinking process behind it as well. So what normally would be more static content could be more dynamic. So I'm just putting this one into the chat as well. So I'd be excited to see what your younger students come up with.
Yeah, I know.
I'll share one more great way I used BookCreator last year with my high school kids was for their final. We actually used it as like a digital portfolio because like you said, you can add in video and you could add in links and all these other things. They spent some time really reflecting upon what they had done over the course of the year, not just in terms of content, but really in terms of skills. Just really sort of, curating what they thought like were their top 5 projects that they had created and why, and sort of then the skills that they would carry forward with them going forward. And so it was a really exciting project. They had so much fun creating it. It was a great way for them to sort of just like house all of the different materials they had, projects and exciting things they put together.
Very cool. It reminds me as well, there's a science teacher in Louisiana that I worked with a while ago that decided to do these like interactive lab journals, because what she realized was she still wanted her students to, it was middle school, so there was a lot of paper still involved. And she wanted them to have lab procedures on paper, and she wanted them to do the lab reports on paper, but what she also realized is, 3 weeks after setting up this whole extensive lab, she'd say, okay, do you remember that lab? And they'd all look at her and go, what lab? So they would take pictures of what they did on paper, and then they would use BookCreator so that they defined all the vocabulary words, and they took pictures during the labs of observations, or maybe they shot video, and they brought that into BookCreator. And at the end of each lab, instead of just saying, okay, here's my lab report on paper, they had everything pulled together, and then they were archiving it into iBooks. So the idea, 3 weeks down the road after this, when she said, hey, remember that lab we did? And they all looked at her blankly, she could say, open up iBooks, go back to our collection, and see what it is that you did. Because they had done that reflective component, and they'd said, okay, here's what I observed, and here's what it meant, and here's why we did this lab. And I thought, it's so often we don't necessarily think about math and science and journaling, but this offers such a great opportunity.
Yeah, and I think with what Dan had mentioned about the ability now to be able to embed BookCreator in the blog, that's going to be a game changer. People are going to love that. If you're thinking about like the digital portfolio project, the journals that you were just talking about, being able to take that work and now put it in a blog and being able to reflect over there, kind of like Elizabeth, what you were saying with that authentic audience, being able to just, share your work in that way is going to be pretty powerful. It's exciting.
Yeah, we, like I said, we were dancing this summer when the export to video came out, because one of the other pieces was we were taking BookCreator and putting it into iMovie, and then having the students do like a video reflection on top of it. Like, here's what I did, and here's why I did it, and almost like a director's cut of a book that we were playing with. So, it's, Dan, we're all very excited about the things that you're coming up with.
One of the projects that I'm planning on doing this spring with my students, kind of to piggyback on what you were just talking about, we do a fetal pig dissection. I know that's not the most glamorous to everybody else, but what I'm planning on having my kids do is make their own interactive dissection manual. that they can then share, have for themselves as they go to their upper level science classes, but also just have as a resource, again, for just showing what they've learned and what they've done, which I think will be very interesting if they're doing, with the pictures that they'll be taking and the way that they can annotate. So that'll be pretty neat.
Anybody else have anything? Dan, I don't know if you want to chime in. We've all just been sort of singing your praises for a while.
I just love listening to it all, because we're just trying, with BookCreator, we're trying to create kind of a blank book. That's what we provide, and we try and get out of the way as much as possible. So, it's wonderful hearing all the different ways. Pig dissection, wow. I never expected that.
I'll keep you posted on how it all goes.
I can't wait to see the books, I think.
Don't worry, they'll be okay.
I have a tricky question for you. You ready? Yes?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, are there any plans to put in BookCreator some maybe 3D widgets or other things that are maybe augmented reality, and I'm just coming up with things right now that might enhance the books and make them even more interesting and more exciting?
Absolutely. So we actually have spent the last 2 months trying to get widgets working. Taking all the widgets my books offer and getting them working in BookCreator. And we nearly got there. We worked with the guys in the Book Widgets team. It was great. It was a really good project, and we got so close. And then we just found some things in iBooks itself that just meant we can't do it right now. So we're postponing it. But every time iBooks has an update out, we'll be straight back on it, seeing if we can do it. And as soon as we can, we'll be there, because we got about 90% through the work. And it was great. We had quizzes working. We had all the widgets working, basically. And we were really excited, but it's just not good enough at the moment, so we can't release it. But yeah, we'd love to see it. It would be fantastic.
There was actually a question just in there. It was a feature that we hadn't really talked about, but there was a question from Susan about, is there a way that you could have like an interactive timeline in a book? And one of the things, I know I forget about it a lot too, is the fact that you can do hyperlinks inside BookCreator. So you could have a timeline that would then link to different pages and link back. So you could essentially do that same idea, or even like a choose your own adventure book would be possible, because there is, there are those features. Sometimes I think we forget about them.
Yeah, there's some bits hidden away. Hyperlinks is a good example. Sorry, Sabba. And yeah, you can create a nonlinear text that way. The timelines widgets, again, would have been a great way to do it. Then you could have had a really nice slide, changing as you go through the timeline. We'll get there.
Yeah, I wanted to just share for the person who was asking about the history timeline. One of the greatest compliments, I think, to iBooks author is bookwidgets.com. Bookcree.com. Bookcree.com is free, and they actually have a timeline widget. And all of their widgets are just fantastic, and again, just really kind of create a more engaging experience. And they're super easy to create. They just a little widget, just drag it right into your iBooks. And so I've added the link into the chat box, so check it out.
Great, thanks. Wait, where am I? I'm over here. Thanks, Sabba. So we only have a few minutes left, and I do want to. There's been great questions about like how to share all of this, and we actually use within EdTech Teacher, we use the ETT iPad hashtag, so anytime things are shared there, we're always welcome to post things. I just want to offer up as well, if anyone has projects or ideas, Dan has an amazing blog, and I'm sure he would love for people to send him things and go, hey, Dan, write about my project. I would also be more than happy to publish different projects on our EdTech Teacher blog, but, and I'm going to share my screen one more time, we are really excited about this, and we're actually going to be asking essentially all of you for some help. So one of the things that we did realize is there are amazing things going on in classrooms, and so many times, like we had the iPad Summit back in Boston, and there's a lot of comments of, oh, I really wish there was like one source of like all the amazing teacher activities. you could possibly do. So we thought to ourselves, well, let's make one. So at EdTech Teacher, we've launched a new project, and we're calling it What Does Awesome Look Like? And that credit goes to Sean McCusker, who is raising that question of, what does awesome look like? And we have put together a BookCreator template that you can download onto your own iPad, and we've been talking iPads, but it's really cool that BookCreator does work on Android. So if you have an Android device, you could do that there as well. But we've created a template, and what we're hoping is that everybody will please share their ideas. And so the template is all set up for you, asking who you are and what you teach and what your learning objective was, and sort of a how-to, and share some examples of your final project. We are going to collect all of the ideas by January 8th and then publish a complete teacher activity book. So whether you teach elementary or middle or high school or higher ed, what we're hoping to do is pull everything together into one ginormous ebook that we will then push back out to the world. So we're actually hoping that we can use the momentum from this conversation and the power of these tools to start to pull together and create essentially this giant learning archive of everybody of what does awesome look like. And so Kate Wilson, who worked with us, did the design. It's really laughable what I sent her as a sketch. So it looks great right now, and you can, like I said, you can download it, fill it in, send it back to us, and we're hoping to be able to hear from all of you to be able to pull this together and create this book of total awesome. So that's something that is definitely available. The last thing just to mention, we talked about like the iPad summits and everything else, is I do want to let everyone know is that we will be on the West Coast in February, and registration's open for that. And Sabba's presenting. We're hoping to see everybody else. We just did the call for proposals, just closed like the other day, so I don't know who else is presenting, but as everyone gets confirmed, we're putting that up there, so know that's open. And then we will be doing summer workshops again this year in cities across the country, definitely Chicago, Boston, Atlanta. It's looking like 2 West Coast opportunities, so if you're looking to get really hands-on with BookCreator and iBooks, or a lot of other topics as well, Chromebooks and Google Classroom, and we're going to have a ton of opportunities. So with that, I'm going to stop so that I have a face again. Hopefully I have a face. Hi. So it's, we're right at 6:58, and I don't want to have the last say, so I'd like to turn it over to the rest of, sorry, no one ever calls our house. I'll turn it over to everyone else to please, to say thanks and good night, and then thanks to everyone for joining us. This has been a ton of fun. So, Dan, we'll start.
All right, great. Thank you. It's been great fun. And I just want to say, really, that if you're using BookCreator in the classroom, thank you, firstly. And also, the apps kind of belongs to you. So if you've got stuff that's annoying you, if you've got stuff you want to improve, you've got great ideas, what we should do next, get in touch. Just, get in touch through our website or through Twitter. Let us know. We want, we're just stewarding it, essentially. That's what we're doing, at Red Jumper. The app belongs to you guys who are doing amazing work with it, like pig dissection, which I still can't get over. So yeah, please just give us your feedback about what works, what doesn't work, and together let's make it really cool.
Thanks, Dan. Elizabeth? Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Beth, for coordinating all of this and allowing me to be a part of such a fun night. This is really, really enjoyable. And Dan, thank you for, again, such a great app. I love the fact that you think about artifacting the kids' work. I think that's such a neat way to pose to them, what do you want to be remembered for as a student, as a collaborator, and as they move forward in their own education. So I thank you for that kind of wording for it. And it was great to meet Nik and Sabba, and I look forward to more times of sharing together. Thank you.
Great, thanks. And Nik and Sabba, I'll let you guys take it away, and then we'll stop the broadcast.
All right, ladies first.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to say, yeah, thanks everyone. A great conversation. It's so great to hear everyone's ideas. I think my big thing that I would share as a last thought would be collaborate. I think, taking this on, sort of, especially if you're looking to create them and curate these resources for your classroom in terms of creating your own books and whatnot, is, yeah, collaborate with other teachers and let the students create. Let them create the books for you. It's a great experience for them, and it works out great for you as well. So, yeah, thanks. Good night, everyone. Thanks.
Okay, so I think you said it. You've said it all. Let the students create. Let the students unleash their creativity and do all the fun things that they want to do, and you will be surprised. Lastly, I would like to thank Dan for creating such a wonderful app, and thank all of you, and especially Beth, for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. And I'll be all.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you again so much. Have a wonderful night, and we hope to talk to all of you online. So thanks very much.